Have you ever felt like this before? As an official, I think it is very safe to say that we have all felt like this at one time or another during our officiating career. Which brings us to the topic of conflict resolutions and principles of communication for officials. Although this presentation is being brought to you by Misha, the basis of the information and format has been prepared and provided by one of our outstanding Misha mechanic clinicians, Warren Turner. Without his efforts and professionalism, this presentation is not possible. Although this presentation is not about the evaluations or the evaluation process, it is imperative that all officials understand that an inability to openly and effectively communicate can definitely result in a negative effect on the evaluations of an official. This is a question that is not asked enough and a topic that is not emphasized enough when it comes to officials training. Are you approachable? I'm not talking about the pregame meeting with the players and the coaches, and I'm not talking about when everything is going well and there is no conflict or controversy. I am talking about your ability to make the coach feel that during the best of times and the worst of times, they can approach you with their pleasures, frustrations, or concerns. You see, to be an effective communicator, your approachability must be 100% unconditional. If you can only be approached under certain conditions, then you truly are not approachable. I have always said that coaches would be much better at their jobs if they ever had to walk in an official's shoe. I will say the same thing to every official. If you ever had to walk in a coach's shoe, you would be better at your job and better equipped to handle adverse situations. Try to spend some time with a coach, or think about what a coach goes through on a daily basis. The more that you can walk in a coach's shoe, the more successful you will be as an official. If walking in a coach's shoe allows us to be more empathetic, then good for us. Empathy might play a huge role in our ability to identify and understand the coach's emotions. This understanding can give us a tremendous insight on how to successfully resolve the conflict. In the infamous words of Henry Ford, if there is anyone's secret of success, it lies in the ability to understand the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as your own. As the Misha Director of Officials, the two types of officials that seem to have the most issues are 1, officials who do not know the rule book, or 2, officials who only know the rule book. All officials must have some basis of rules knowledge, and it is imperative that you do know the rules. However, only 20% of your success will depend on your knowledge of the rules, and 80% of how successful you will be is based upon your ability to master the human relations or the human engineering side of officiating. There are 3 types of officials: beginning officials or newbies, middle of the road officials, and seasoned officials, otherwise known as veterans. Because only game experience can advance an official from one stage to the next, it only makes sense that a seasoned veteran is better equipped to handle adverse situations when being compared to a beginning official. Officials should desire to officiate as many contests as possible, therefore accumulating more game experiences, which will then allow them to handle adverse situations better. So what is the difference between controversy and a conflict? Controversy is the difference of opinion or a different viewpoint, otherwise known as there are 2 sides to every story. In the world of sports, it is the difference in opinion of a judgment call or the interpretation of a rule. A conflict is the confrontational behavior by word or actions that is a result of the controversy. Controversy is inevitable whenever there is competition. It is inevitable because a coach, a player, a parent, or a fan has a vested interest in the outcome of a contest. An official does not. Very true statement. The majority of all conflicts can and are resolved with nonviolent de-escalation techniques. What does this mean? It is the process of utilizing your God-given skills, such as listening, eye contact, body language, choice of words, empathy, just to name a few, to help diffuse situations. Why is resolving conflict so uncomfortable or unnatural? Because it is not normal. No one likes conflict, and most prefer that it vanishes and goes away. Unfortunately, Conflict in sports is a constant. The more we work at it, the better we will become and the less intimidated we will be. The beautiful thing about resolving conflicts is that there is no blueprint on how to resolve it. Why? Because every conflict has its own ingredients and its own life form. No two conflicts are exactly the same. Therefore, it is important for each one of us to discover how we choose to deal with the conflict and what approach we take to resolve it. What was successful last Friday night might not work this Friday night. What worked for the coach last week may not work for another coach this week. When there is conflict, just know that all eyes are on us. We are role models, and student athletes are being very observant of how we handle ourselves and deal with the issue that lies in front of us. How we conduct ourselves will establish the respect that we receive from others. You see, sports have rules, and these rules sometimes limit the options that the participants have and the behavior with which they are expected to conduct themselves. As officials, we are put in place to enforce these rules. However, people do not like their behavior to be restricted or their actions to be penalized. This is a very natural feeling for everyone, including us. Outside of officiating, many of us will act in the same way in another aspect of our life. Therefore, it should make it easier to accept that it is not you personally they are upset with. It is the person in the uniform. In this case, most of our uniforms have stripes or are a certain color that identifies us to be different than anyone else. Call us stripes, call us blue, call us zebras, call us ump. You will notice that everything they call us is in reference to the shirt that we are wearing. As officials, our challenge is to make sure that we always approach our decision making with reasoning. We are not dealing with creatures of logic, but rather creatures of emotion. Emotional people, coaches, players, parents, fans, who are filled with prejudices and motivation that is cultivated and nurtured with pride and vanity. It can be very beneficial to take the mirror test to better understand the following: that physiological makeup can affect the likelihood of conflicts developing, that officials need to know their pressure points, their hot buttons, and how they respond to stressful situations, the difference between veterans and newbies, to have a mindset and be prepared to handle the unexpected, to not take controversy personally, that self-control supersedes game control. Do not add fuel to the fire. To match the intensity of the game, not the emotion of a game. What we hear, sense, and feel triggers certain emotional responses. Some officials immediately jump to action based on these emotions without any thought about the consequences. Example, they allow themselves to be baited. Others think and then choose their responsive behavior. Recognize that coaches and officials have preconceptions about the role of the other. People tend to hold on to their preconceptions when handling conflicting ideas. These mindsets affect how we communicate by our words, our tone, our body language. Don't say something you'll regret later. Sometimes it is better to say nothing at all. Remember, silence cannot be quoted. There are so many non-rule book, otherwise known as situational issues, that can help or hurt officials before, during, or after the contest. A professional appearance, a clean and neat uniform, and proper mechanics help. Body language and the way you wear your uniform. How you look sends a personal message. Professional dress when arriving at the site. Rulebook officials. Basically, we're referring to making sure that we use common sense. The pickier we are, the harder it is to be consistent. Officials may have to use passive and assertive models of game management. Always call things dealing with player safety and unsportsmanlike issues. Manage the game with a light touch to provide equitable competition. Don't tell people what to do. No one likes to take orders. And last, the ability to listen, to be an attentive listener. A common sense approach to practical solutions. Appear to be receptive. Have the courtesy to listen before saying anything. Empathize with the other's point of view. Don't invite confrontation through unnecessary proximity or prolonged eye contact. Finger wagging conveys a message of aggression, possible demeaning, combative, or disrespectful. A stare can be perceived as threatening. Eye contact in general means I am interested in what you have to say. Standing up straight says you're confident and interested in what is being said. A slouch shows lack of concern. Hands on the hip shows that you're bored. Move away if possible. If a coach tries to get in your face, turn sideways so you're shoulder to shoulder. This makes it harder to speak aggressive and to be confrontational when both parties are side by side. And definitely lower your voice and speak slower as the coach raises their voice and speaks faster. Use coach rather than a person's first name. Focus on game-related issues. Deal only with things that intrude on this contest, which disrupt your management of this contest. Discuss pre-game procedure and position. Focus on what is right, not who is right. Give the opportunity to save face and maintain self-esteem. Don't back anyone into a corner. Be a good listener. Let the coach vent. Permit the coach to disengage. Get the ball put in play. Why? This moves the attention on to the next play. Recognize when it is time to quit talking. Do not insist on having the last word. Project serenity amidst a storm of controversy. Be the calm amongst the chaos. De-escalate the problem. Impose penalties professionally when efforts to minimize or resolve conflict don't work. Walk away to report penalty. Don't bait anyone into a second penalty. Always make the other person feel important. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Have you ever heard the statement, never wrestle with a pig? You're both going to get muddy, and the pig is going to love it. You can't win an argument. You can't. Because if you lose it, you lose it. And if you win it, you lose it. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Sometimes in officiating, you need to lose an argument in order to win it. Control your temper. Remember, you can measure the size of a person by what makes them angry. Our job is to be the calm amongst the chaos. The key to success is staying calm in the midst of conflict, deflecting verbal abuse, and offering empathy. Nothing good is accomplished, and a lot of damage can be done if you tell a person right out that he or she is wrong. You only succeed in stripping that person of self-dignity. You can take verbal abuse if you begin to see yourself as a professional who treats others with dignity and respect. Things you should never say to coaches. It's only a game. Come here. Because those are the rules. What do you want me to do about it? Coach, just calm down. What's your problem? I'm not going to say this again. I'm doing this for your own good. Why don't you be reasonable? Just coach your team. Our job as officials is to stay in the positive. Our contests will reflect the attitude that we show up with. There are no bad guys in this world of sports and officiating. You see, when you attribute bad motives to someone who disagrees with you, you tend to distrust them and struggle with them for power. If you distrust someone, your tendency will be to try to control them, and this generates anger and rebellion in them. Everyone loses in this situation. If you attribute positive motives to someone, you will be more likely to want to work through conflicts with them. At least this approach gives us a chance for success. As officials, we are in the human relation business, and our success lies 100% within our desire to master the principles of human relations. As officials, we do not get paid enough money to not enjoy what we do or not have fun doing it. At the same time, as officials, we get paid too much money to not take it seriously and not spend the time to be the best. The players, the coaches, the schools, and most importantly, the game that we officiate deserves our very best. Officiating. As an official, you are neither inside the game, as the players are, nor outside it among the fans, but that the game passes through you, like rainwater through a filter, and that your job is to influence it for the better, to strain out the impurities, to make it cleaner, fairer, and more transparent without it impeding it, corrupting it, changing its course, or making it taste funny. I hope that you find this presentation to be beneficial. The intent is that all of us can improve, especially when it comes to human relations and handling conflicting situations. I hope that there will be at least one positive that will help each one of us to become better. Thank you for watching the presentation, and thank you for what you do.